Good morning, everybody. I received a few emails of panic, and I'm really sorry about that. Regarding the final paper, it is not due until next week, so that's what this lecture is about. Hopefully, you completed your interview with an expert and are ready to move on by you incorporating that and all of your research from your research plan into your final paper. If you hear some meowing, it's my old cat, jealous that I'm paying attention to the computer and not her. She's right here. She likes to hang with me for lectures, but sometimes she has weird, like meowing noises that are disturbing. Okay, so you want to open up Blackboard, and we're just going to follow along together. Get into the course. I sent you all an announcement this morning that the final research paper is due on December 7th, not yesterday, December 2nd. Sorry about that. I had pushed the due dates because I wanted to drop that interview in there to help you guys get more of a handle on your narrowed topic and talk to an expert, especially since we're not on campus and able to talk through your topics. I thought the interview was going to be really helpful. So, in the announcement email I sent you, I kind of described that whole situation. The other situation I wanted to go over is that I am available to meet with you virtually through FaceTime. Teams is probably the best way to set something like that up. But if you would like to talk to me like face to face virtually, please let me know. This is the week for that. I had specifically planned this week for that, thinking the final paper was due next week, but I forgot to change those dates on Blackboard. So the good news is if you freaked out and submitted your final paper, your final research paper, you have some more time to listen to this lecture and look over it and just proofread it and make sure it's great. And you can resubmit a more finalized, better draft. Um, Also, I'm trying to make my mistake a little bit, make light of my mistake because I know I stressed a lot of you out. But I do honestly feel like if you submitted the paper on time, which I saw some of you did yesterday, please look over it and just try to do better and submit another draft. If you feel like you submitted a perfect draft, then you're good to go. You don't have anything to do until next week. So, another issue was I had misunderstood the last week of classes and finals week. The last week of classes is next week, and that is also the final exam period. There's no exam for this course, but we write a very short final reflection paper, which I will go over with you in a separate lecture. The other thing I wanted to go over with you today is you should turn in any late work by Monday, December 7th, if you would like me to review it. I will not be reviewing any work after December 7th except for the final reflection paper because I will have to be working to finalize grades and everything and read your final research papers, which are 8 to 10 pages for 47 students. So after December 7th, I will not be accepting any work besides the research paper that's due on the 7th and then the finals reflection paper. But you've got 4 days to submit anything that you got a 0 on, and you can get half credit for those assignments. Um, okay, so that's the announcement. Let's go to assignments and exams. And let's take a look at the second from the top, final research paper due Monday, December 7th. We're actually going to look at the description. So click on the document to download the description. Okay, so you should have the description open on your computer. If not, you can open it later. There are lots of components to this paper, and it might seem like a lot of description, but it actually is your position, basically your position paper and your research plan combined into an actual argumentative essay. So I just kind of listed the components that are expected. And then there's also a rubric we'll go over in a second. So you know that this paper assignment is an argumentative, unique claim chosen by you about a narrowed down topic. So one of the important parts about being successful on this paper is that you've narrowed down your topic. I've been talking to you about that a lot as far as, if you're interested in gun control, you should probably choose a specific state or county even. You should choose, are you going to talk about it from like a sportswoman perspective, or are you going to talk about it from a legislator's perspective? All those things have to go into you thinking about a narrowed down topic. I've also left comments on your position paper that let you know if your topic is appropriately narrowed down. If on your position paper I let you a comment that your position is not narrowed, I will expect you know, a better, more specific and precise thesis for your final paper. If you're really struggling with that, that's a perfect opportunity to reach out to me and schedule a little talk about your paper. Some of you have emailed about your topics like the interview, and we had some really good conversation through email about how to narrow down your ideas. So that's always an option. Okay, the introduction for this argumentative research paper includes obviously your topic. You need to have your claim and some background. Your then your body paragraphs support your claim with your own ideas and research using examples, evidence, and appeals. So in the position paper, you had specifically talked about the use of logos, ethos, pathos, and kairos in your paper. So I'd like to see those implemented in the final paper. A super important part of this paper is a summary of the opposition and your rebuttal to the opposition. Rebuttal is also known as counter argument. Those two things are the same thing. So, yeah, you've got to know a little bit about what gets in the way of your claim or who is opposing your claim and why. Your conclusion of your research paper restates your main points and extends the issue into the future with a claim of policy. Remember, a claim of policy is a tangible thing that an audience can do after reading your paper. So think about what you want your audience to do and what's the big deal about writing your paper. For example, do you want your audience to go out and read more about your topic and become more educated? That's actually a tangible call to action. Do you want your audience to, write to a legislature or participate in community action? What do you want your audience to do after reading your paper? That's what a claim of policy is. Okay, the length, which some of you have been emailing me about, is 8 to 10 pages, including the reference or works cited page as one page. So if you have 7 full pages of text and a works cited page, that counts as 8 pages. If you have 7.5 pages, you will not get an A on the paper. That's impossible because it's below the minimum requirement. The minimum requirement is 7 full typed pages of text for the paper and 1 page for the works cited. If your works cited goes on to a second page, that's beyond, that doesn't count as a written page. Also, your works cited probably should not be going on to a next page because that's too many sources. You're restricted to 5 to 7 sources, because if you do more than that, you will have your research kind of overtaking your own ideas. And if you do less than that, you probably don't have enough to support your ideas. So it's 8 to 10 pages, double space, Times New Roman. It's double spaced throughout, no extra spaces. So no extra spaces after the title, no extra spaces between paragraphs. It's just completely double spaced. You have to choose Times New Roman font, size 12. Plus, you have to choose an MLA or an APA citation format. Do not mix and match. That doesn't work. That's not a thing. You either have to do completely MLA or completely APA. I've taught you MLA in this course. I've also given you some APA resources if you're interested in doing that style. But most of the work that we've done this course is MLA. If you have questions about formatting, you need to let me know. It is expected that after 101, you are an expert at citation style. So if you need help with citations, you need to ask me or ask a librarian. They're also really helpful with citation style. You have to have an interesting title for your paper. Do not title it Final Argumentative Research Paper. That's super boring. So, be creative with your title. You know that you need 5 to 7 documented sources. Documented sources means that you have them listed in your works cited page and you also have them in your text with in-text citations. The sources must be from Morrisville databases or primary research, which would be your interview. If the paper is not appropriately formatted with in-text citations in a works cited page, it will not be accepted or graded. So don't forget the works cited page because I can't grade a paper that doesn't have one. Obviously, also note that any form of plagiarism, including the use of a previously written paper for a different class, will result in failure for the assignment, and I'd have to submit a report to the college. So just avoid that and do something authentic. Another note about the sources, they have to be databases or your interview or approved by me. So if you found something that's outside of the databases, just let me know. And I'm sure it's fine, but I would like you to let me know so that I can help you understand the credibility and relevance of the source. At least one of your sources has to be multimedia, which you should have already taken care of in your research plan. So you could do a podcast, a video, a documentary, a movie, anything like that. At least one of your documented sources must be an opposition article. That obviously is important for the opposition piece of your paper. As far as outlining, you should have an introduction, a body, and a conclusion, clear topic sentences, effective transitions between each paragraph. Your claim has to be unique and very specific. It cannot be cliche, obvious, or too broad. It can also not be based only on morals. So, for example, if you are saying like abortion is wrong, first of all, that's way too broad, but that's a morals based argument and is not applicable to an argumentative essay. The paper has to include a summary of the opposition with your own rebuttal to that opposition. So not only are you stating what the opposition is, you are also stating how you feel about that opposition. Whether that's maybe you agree with part of the opposition, that's called a concession, remember. So you can agree with certain parts and then say why you don't agree with other parts, or you can completely flip and just say like why opposition is invalid. Now, remember, you want to stay away from first person pronouns when you're talking about your own opinions. So instead of saying, while I think some of this is true, I also think this is true, you would just say, while this is true, this other thing is also true. So you just need to practice taking out that first person pronoun. Okay. The unique part of your conclusion is that you've got to look to the future of your topic by proposing some sort of change or providing new insight, which is that claim of policy I was talking about, where you need to give your audience a tangible thing to do. It should be very clear that you've thought about balancing the use of evidence, examples, and appeals. If your paper is completely based on logos, that's not a good paper. If your paper is completely based on ethos, also not a good paper. So clearly you have a mix of those types of rhetorical strategies. I basically want to see that you can use the rhetorical strategies we've talked about this semester in your paper. The next thing on our list here is that your paper avoids informal language and the use of you. For example, if you use the word gonna, like Gonna, that's definitely going to be an issue. That would be an informal use of language. If you use you when you're talking to the audience, that is not appropriate either. If you need help with that issue, you can let me know. I would be happy to take a look at drafts over the weekend If you want me to, all you need to do is shoot me an email or a text and say, I'd like you to look at this particular thing. When you email me to ask you, or when you email me to request me looking over a draft, you also have to include exactly what you want me to look at. So, for example, if you feel your topic sentences are weak, then say, I want you to look at my topic sentences. Or if you feel like you need help with academic voice, then say you need help with academic voice, because I'm not going to line edit your paper or, give you a grade on your rough draft. I'm there to help you make your drafts better. So you need to let me know like how you want me to help you. Now, remember that you can use first person pronouns in your paper as long as it's personal testimony. So, wait, let me make sure. Okay, good. I got really nervous. My volume wasn't working again. Okay, so when you use first person pronouns, that's totally fine. You can even use first person pronouns when you're talking about the interview that you completed because you are the researcher. So in that case, you can say, I interviewed so and so, and talk about it in a first person voice. You can also totally use your interview as without using first person. You can talk about the interview without doing that. Remember that personal testimony is any personal experience you have that you want to put in the paper. You can use first person pronouns, but you may not use first person pronouns for the entirety of the paper. That's not academic writing. So remember that those first person pronouns are the words like I, me, my, we, us, our. Unfortunately, because of timing and the kind of the implications of this assignment being the cumulative assignment for the class, you will not be able to resubmit the final paper after December 7th. So if you submitted it already, you can totally resubmit again, but after December 7th, you cannot resubmit. The final research paper is your cumulative assignment for this course, so it kind of takes the place of the severity and seriousness of a final exam. It is worth the most on the syllabus, and it basically shows that you know how to use all of the rhetorical strategies and the course outcomes that we've done this semester. I'm going to post a separate lecture that talks about your final reflection, which is a super easy assignment. So I'll get into that in a separate recorded lecture. Okay, so that's the final paper description. If you click on in Blackboard, if you click on final research paper due Monday, December 7th, you can click on view rubric. The rubric opens, and here's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for thesis and topic sentences to be intertwined. So all topic sentences of your paragraphs should relate back to the thesis. So for example, we've talked about before that you should not use research as a topic sentence. You always want to have quotes and references to sources within the body of your body paragraphs. So the topic sentences should be your own claim that's directly related back to the thesis, and that's going to keep your paper organized and solid. Somewhere to look to help with those topic sentences is your position paper, because the organization of the position paper was establish your position, give your reasons with your evidence and everything, and then do opposition and counter argument. So if you're following the organization of that position paper, you'll be good to go. Okay, so as far as organization of the paper, like I said in the assignment description, you're going to have an introduction. Then you're going to have some background information that is unbiased. Background information is important to establish the foundational knowledge for your audience. It's also important to establish that you know what you're talking about as the author. So you're establishing your ethos with providing background information. It's also important not to show bias in the background information and just kind of give the background to your problem. So when I say background, I'm talking about why is your thesis a problem? So you're just giving the background facts and information about how we've come to this place where you need to have this particular argument. Um, in the rubric, it says there's no bias in this section. It's simply providing a presentation of different perspectives on your topic. So the background information sets the foundation for your whole paper and kind of, like I said, specifies why it's a particular problem. And along with that would be varying perspectives. Obviously, you can't have a problem if you don't have varying perspectives. So you need to detail those perspectives in your background information. The evidence and appeals is basically how I look at your body paragraphs. Do you have specific research that directly connects to your thesis statement and your topic sentences? Do you have a very specific balance of appeals that I could, if I were annotating your paper, I could highlight logos, ethos, pathos, kairos. I could highlight use of diction. I could highlight use of qualifiers. I could highlight opposition, concession, rebuttal. I could highlight topic sentences. I could highlight explanation of research. Remember, you can't just drop research into your body. You have to explain it clearly. The opposition and rebuttal is its own piece of the rubric. So basically, you clearly explain your opposition and you clearly express your rebuttal. You've got to use research in this piece. That's why it's required as part of your research plan. Well, it was required as part of your research plan, and it's required for the paper. Now, as far as opposition sources go, if you found, like, let's say you did some more research after turning in the research plan, you can change your sources after the research plan as long as they are directly related to your topic. You may not change your topic, though. We've talked about that before. All right, the end of your paper, and part of why I don't grade by paragraph is because for some people, background information can be in the introduction paragraph, and that's all we need to know. For other people, background information might be two body paragraphs after the introduction. For other people, opposition and rebuttal might be one paragraph, for example. For other people, it might be two separate paragraphs. It's really all about what you want to say and how you want to say it and how much time you want to spend on each thing. That's part of the challenge of this particular assignment is that it's up to you to decide your paragraphing. That's a skill that we've been working on this semester, and I'd like to see it in the final paper. The claim of policy and conclusion, that can be wrapped up into one paragraph. For some other people, they might have a claim of policy that's a particular paragraph, and then they might have a separate conclusion. Either way, the expectation for that section of your paper is the same. The expectation is that your claim of policy is clearly described. The audience can act on something that is actually viable, and the conclusion wraps up all of your ideas in the paper and makes an effort to keep the audience engaged with the topic. For grammar, spelling, citation, mechanics, and format, no errors detract from meaning, and you don't have any errors in your formatting or citation. A lot of students think it's easy to have errors in citation style, and it is, but it's very easy to avoid those types of things if you have a librarian or me look over your stuff before you submit. So for example, if you're nervous about citation style, you can shoot me an email and say, here's my works cited, or here's my in-text citations. Can you please, see if they're right? Do not use citation machine for your citations unless you are going to double check them with MLA and APA requirements. Citation machine is obviously automated, and usually there's at least one error in the final citation that citation machine gives you just because it's an automated thing and it makes mistakes. So if you're going to use something like that, you need to double check it with the Little Seagull Handbook, Purdue OWL, or a librarian is a good idea as well. Okay. So that's the final research paper. I call it the final research paper because I do want to stress the importance of the fact that it is assessing basically your knowledge that you gained this semester. So you have to use some different rhetorical strategies in the paper, like I said. Just a reminder that if you need to meet with me, please reach out to me. This is the only, I mean, I said it in an announcement, but I am saying it here so that people who are watching can take advantage of that opportunity to connect with me if they need to. I will be submitting another lecture regarding the final reflection paper, which is due at the end of finals week next week. So keep an eye out for that.